Everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are diving into the world of CSS or Cascading Style Sheet. CSS is the powerful language that allows you to style your HTML elements to make your web pages look more appealing and organized. Whether you are a beginner or just need a refresher, this video will guide you through key CSS concepts, syntax, and real world examples. So, let's get started. What is CSS? CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheet, is a language used to describe the presentation of a web page, including colors, layers, layout, and fonts. It defines how HTML elements should be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media. Next, why CSS? CSS is essential because it allows you to separate the content of your web page, HTML, from its appearance. This makes maintenance easier as you can update the look of your website without touching the content itself. How CSS works? CSS works by being linked to an HTML document in one of the three ways: inline, internal, or external. Okay. With this, the p tag will display the text in red because we used to style attribute directly in inline CSS. Okay. CSS syntax is fairly simple. It consists of a selector which targets an HTML element followed by a declaration block which contains properties and their values. In this example, we are styling a H1 element by changing its text color to blue and setting the font size to 12 pixels. CSS selectors. Selectors are the foundation of CSS. They allow you to target specific HTML element to apply in styles. Here, the header selector applies style to an element with the ID header. The highlight class applies to element with the class, and the p tag targets all the paragraph elements. CSS commands in CSS are useful for explaining your code or leaving notes for others working on the same project. This command will not affect the styling. It's purely for documentation. CSS supports several ways to define colors. Hexadecimal, RGB, RGBA, and named colors. Here, the background color is set to the reddish hue using a hex code, and the text color is set to while using RGB. You can set the background color or image of an element using CSS. This applies a light gray background color on and as a background image for div. Next, move on to borders. Borders are used to define the edge of elements. You can style them with width, style, and color. This creates a two pixel thick red border around the div element. Next, margin and padding. Margin creates space outside an element, while padding creates space inside it between the content and the border. Okay. In this case, the div has 20 pixel margin around it and a 10 pixel padding inside it. Here, height and width. CSS allows you to control the height and width of the element, ensuring they fit properly within the layout. This sets the width of the div to 200 pixel and the height to 100 pixel. Next, move on to the main topic, box model. The box model contains of the content area, padding border and margin. It defines the box in which an element is rendered. Here we define the content with 100 pixel, padding with a 20 pixel, border with 5 pixel and margin with a 10 pixel. An outline is similar to a border, but it does not affect the layout of the element. This adds a green dished outline around the div. Okay, CSS allow you to control the typography of your page, include font, size, style, and text alignment. Here, the paragraph text is set to the Times New Roman font with the size of 18 pixel and the text is aligned in the center. You can use icons from font libraries like a Font Awesome to interactive and visually appealing web design. This adds a home icon to your web page using the Font Awesome library. Okay, move on to links in CSS. CSS can style different state of a link such as when it is hovered over, clicked or visited. Here different colors are applied based on the state of the link. Blue for unvisited, purple for visited and when hovered and green when clicked. CSS allow you to style different type of list such as ordered means numbered and unordered means bullet list and control their appearance. Here the unordered list will have square bullets and instead of default rounded ones and the ordered list will have decimal numbers. Next, we can use CSS to style HTML tables adjusting the spacing, border and alignment of data cells. Here, we use border collapse to collapse table border into one. The table header uh, and data cell are given to border padding and centered aligned text. Next, move on to display properties. The display property is crucial in CSS for controlling how elements are displayed in relation to one another, such as block, inline, or flex. Here, the div element is displayed as a block, meaning it takes up the full width of its container, while span element is inline, only occupying such as width as it needs. Okay, the maximum width property is used to set a maximum width for an element. ensuring it does not stretch beyond a certain size. Okay. In this example, the image will scale down to fit its container while maintaining its aspect ratio, but it won't exceed the width of the container. Next, the position property is used to control how elements are positioned on the page. It can be set to values like static, relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky. This example sets the div to be position relative to its normal position with a 20 pixel offset from the top and 30 pixel from the left. Next, z-index. The z-index property controls the stacking order of elements. Higher values place elements in front of lower values. In this case, the overlay div will appear in front of the first div because it has a higher z-index. Okay. The overflow property controls what happens when content overflows an element box. You can set it to visible, hidden, scroll or auto. This will add scrollets to the div if the content inside exceeds its specified width and height. Next, move on to float. The float property allows elements to float to the left or right, enabling text or other content to wrap around them. In this case, the image will float to the left and any text or content will wrap around it with a 15 pixel margin on the right. The inline block value allows elements to be placed next to each other like inline elements but still respect width and height like block elements. This allows div element to sit next to each other while still maintaining their width and height properties. Aligned properties. Combinators in CSS. CSS combinator allow you to define relationship between selectors such as the son, child, adjacent sibling or general sibling combinators. In this example, the first rule targets all paragraph element inside div element while the second rule specifically targets paragraph element that are direct children of a div. Next, pseudo classes and pseudo elements. Pseudo classes are used to define the special state of an element like hover for when a user interacts with an element. Pseudo element allow styling of part of an element like before or after. Okay, the hover pseudo class applies when a link is hovered and first letter changes the first letter of each paragraph to a larger size. Next, opacity. The opacity property allows you to control the transparency of an element. In this case, makes the div element 50% transparent, allowing the background or other element underneath to be visible. Next, move on to navigation bar. A navigation bar is essential for a user-friendly website. You can design one with a flexbox or grid to ensure responsiveness. This flexbox to position the links in the navigation bar with the justify content creating equal space between the hover effect changes and the background color of the links when hovered. And also drop down menu can be created with a hover, pseudo class, or by using JavaScript interactivity. Next, move on to the images. Image gallery. An image gallery can be styled using Flexbox or Grid to create a responsive layout for images. This creates a simple three-column image gallery layout with images that adjust their size responsively. And image splitters. Image splitters are creative effect where an image is sliced and presented in multiple parts. This creates an image split effect where the images enlarge slightly on hover of an interactive field. Next, CSS grid. CSS grid is a two-dimensional layout that allows for the creation of complex web layout. This defines a grid container with the three equal width columns. Items within the grid are equally spaced can span multiple rows or columns. Next, Flexbox layout. Flexbox is one-dimensional layout system that allows for easier alignment and distribution of items. In this example, the flex container distributes its item evenly, with each item taking up an equal amount of space within the container. I hope this breakdown of CSS concept with the code examples helped you understand how to use CSS to style your web page effectively. If you found this video useful, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Share it with others and subscribe for more tutorials. Drop your questions or any topic you want us to cover in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.